Welcome back to another episode of Conservative Conversations. It's your hosts, Reid and Frank. How are you today, Frank?
I'm doing pretty good. I just wish the weather would warm up finally. Ready for it to just be warm and stay warm.
Yeah, it's been teasing us lately here where we're at. Over the weekend, it was pretty darn nice. But
Yeah.
yes, it's getting cold again. And sorry we've been so long with new content for you listeners. We've been out on a little bit of a vacation, and one of us had a new job, and the schedule has been a little crazy, so we're glad to be back at it. And we're just going to jump right into it. And I think we're going to start with probably the big. I was going to make some kind of joke, but I'll go elephant in the room of the Russia and Ukraine situation that everybody's talking about. It's all you see on the news, especially the cable news.
Yeah. Well, and I've heard it's all that you see on some of the social networking platforms, like, our mutual friend Lauren was talking about being actually able to see the video on TikTok of like the tanks actually rolling over cars and some of the things that are actually happening on the ground over there.
Right.
So she was talking about how unique that is, that we live in a modern period and everybody's got these cell phones and you can just send the video footage around the world right there with the click of a button. So yeah, the eyes of the world have definitely still been on Russia and Ukraine, but
yeah, it is interesting that like you were saying, we're able to share this like in real time, because some of the most famous photographs of World War II, the flag over Iwo Jima.
yeah,
I'm sure it probably took a couple days, or I really don't know how long, but at least a couple days for most people in America to have seen that picture. And here we are. We're seeing stuff happen pretty much as it's happening.
Oh yeah, sure.
So it's definitely
Well,
crazy
I've heard
to
a lot
think
of
about.
comparisons too. There's a famous photograph of what happened in Tiananmen Square, with China.
Oh yeah.
And the Communist Party where they took over, and some guy stood in front of a tank, like with his hand out. That was a famous picture. And I've heard some of these people in Ukraine, the way the people are like stepping up and forming these little, militias or whatever they are, these little fighting groups or
Right,
whatever. I guess there have been some images of them, sort of doing some of the same things, standing in front of tanks, talking to Russian soldiers, maybe being rude to them or making rude gestures and stuff. I don't know, but
Right.
Anyway,
Yeah. It's one of the last updates I saw as we were preparing for the show. Amongst several other, companies recently announcing they're not going to do business in Russia. Like the other day, it was like MasterCard and Visa. They're not going to operate there.
yeah.
Several tech companies have stopped some operations there. And then the most recent ones I heard was Pepsi and Coke, I think, or definitely just Coca-Cola, is ceasing their operations in Russia or something like that.
Yeah.
And the only thing I keep thinking about with all these businesses doing that is they're mostly hurting the Russian people, not Putin and the Russian government.
Isn't that the truth? Isn't that true?
Yeah.
Well, and I saw a headline today that Biden committed we're not going to buy any Russian oil anymore or whatever. Who's that going to hurt? That's going to hurt the American people now.
Right.
We're even, we already can't get our own. And now, if you take Russia off the table, that's just one less market we can buy from.
Right. Well, on top of that, I heard just the other day that he was trying to go to Venezuela and ask them for their oil.
Who Biden was?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we're just going to trade out buying oil from
One corrupt nation.
Yeah, one corrupt government and dictator to the next instead of
Yeah.
focusing on producing our own, which we're able to.
Yeah. We would be able to.
Yeah.
We were able
Right.
to.
We
Only
yeah,
one
that's
president
exactly. We
ago.
were like, yeah, not even 2 full years ago.
Right. I mean, we've covered this long,
Yeah.
you know, since Biden came into office.
Yep.
Since the first analysis we've done. One of the first things he did.
The pipeline,
Mm-hmm.
Keystone XL.
Yep, and we covered how the native people were going to benefit from it and how they were up in arms. And remember, it was a deal that Canada was involved with, and the Canadians were just pissed that
Right.
the contract got ripped in half.
Yep. And now the chickens are come to roost,
Yep.
as they
And
say.
gas prices are just going to keep going up.
Right.
So I don't know if it's good enough, but I think we could roll right into the State of the Union.
Sure,
you know,
go
that's
for it.
the other thing that a few people were talking about at work and in some other places. You know, Biden did just recently do his State of the Union address.
Yep, well,
and-
like a week ago from when we're recording on
Right.
March 8th is today's date.
Right. But you know, he starts off right off the top talking about Russia and Ukraine, and then at one point in the speech, he commits. He says that they're doing everything they can, his administration, to bring down the price of gasoline. And he even talks about, you know, they've released some of the National Reserve or whatever.
Yeah.
Yep. So, I mean, it's just so funny to me, you know, that they're obviously not doing everything that they can. It's just a joke. Somebody like him saying something like that, you know what I mean? It's ridiculous. He's done everything but what should be done, in my opinion, you know, to bring down the cost of gasoline.
Right.
But otherwise, the only thing, I mean, I really did listen to almost all of it. I think it was about 45 minutes long, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, thereabouts.
Maybe it was an hour, and I only listened to 45 minutes of it. But it wasn't that super long, and I did listen to most of it. And I just remember hearing him misspeak a lot, saying a lot of, you know, he jumbles up his words and can't remember what the heck he's talking
Yeah,
about.
you got a wall and it stops the vaccine. Or something like that.
Yep.
Yeah, whatever he was trying to say. Gosh. Yeah, I've sort of watched it twice. I watched it as it happened, and then the next day I rewatched Steven Crowder's coverage of it, because he usually does a live stream and stuff like that.
Well, there were two things that really stood out to me, though, when I kind of looked back over, you know, like what was out there on the web about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess there was this thing where Nancy, behind Biden, a couple times, gets up like rubbing her fists together in some kind of like weird motion. She does that like twice. And she looks so funny doing it. I don't know. I don't.
Well,
get what
one
the hell
time wasn't it when, like, right when he was talking about the burn pits, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so strange.
Yep.
Like she was clapping for burn pits or something.
Yeah. Well, and she wasn't clapping though. She's like rubbing her little fists together like some kind of freak. She's so
That's
weird.
Nancy Pelosi for you. Too much Botox.
She had too much medication and she forgot how to clap. That's what I think.
Yeah.
But then the other thing that really stood out was there was this congresswoman whose name is like Lauren Bogart or something like
Bobert,
that.
I think.
Bobert?
Something like
Okay,
that.
yeah, something. And she called Biden out. He's talking about coffins with the American flag draped over them, you know, in like some kind of homage to like a fallen soldier.
Mm-hmm.
And she like shouts, she's like, yeah, 13 of them. But he doesn't seem to hear her and just keeps going and immediately starts talking about the service of his son, Bo, you know, his precious Bo. So I just thought that was kind of an interesting moment, you know, that she talks about these she shouts at him about these 13 fallen soldiers, and he just starts going on how my son was a soldier. You know?
Yeah.
Such an idiot.
Well, it was not a very good speech.
No.
And most of them usually aren't, but it's whatever.
He's really the worst.
Yeah.
I was thinking about that the other day. I think he's worse than Obama. Like,
right.
Even as a president, you know, like in the behind the scenes stuff, not just in front of the camera stuff.
Yeah.
I think he's just bad. Obama did a better job of keeping the country together and somewhat normal.
Right. Well, it's no wonder the Democrats aren't trying to use that 25th Amendment they talk so much about with Trump.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure we've sort of mentioned before that it seems like at least some Democrats recognize he's a turd circle in the drain, and they'd probably rather get him out and replace him.
Yeah, but with Kamala, though, that's been the trouble the whole time.
Right. It has been.
She wouldn't be any better. And then we'd have to listen to that cackle every day.
And we'll have to do the things that we do, because we do them.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
When I heard her, she was explaining to somebody where, what did she say? About Ukraine. Sort of giving like the history of Ukraine.
The big country and the little country.
Yeah. She's like, Ukraine is a country in Western Europe or Eastern Europe or whatever it is. I guess it'd be Eastern Europe, right? And yeah, and then she goes into that. They're a little country being beaten up on by a big country. She's just everything's so childlike with her.
Yeah, she's a child.
Yeah, she's terrible.
Right? Yeah, I don't think I really have too many comments about the State of the Union other than...
No, it was boring.
Yeah, it's completely missed. He didn't even talk about Afghanistan, which is sort of what Laura Bobart was pointing out.
Right.
And he pretty much is trying to paint how well his terrible year is as a big rosy picture.
Yeah.
So, oh well. And I guess is that all you had on it?
On the State of the Union, yeah. But I know we kind of got off topic with the Russia and Ukraine thing, and there were a couple of things. I don't have too much else to add to that either, but I did notice that the Director of National Intelligence, they put out their annual threat assessment in like early February, and they were talking about how it's the headline that we kind of mentioned before coming on air. They were talking about how Russia, doesn't want a conflict with the U.S. or something like that. And it was funny to me, that headline in particular, when we're basically in a conflict with Ukraine. Yeah, I mean, we don't have boots on the ground, which is one of the other things that I'm going to add. Biden has been adamant about that. He keeps saying we're not going to go fight Russia. We're not going to get into a physical thing with Russia over Ukraine.
Right, but we're basically supplying all the material for it.
I mean, we're very much involved in this thing in Ukraine. So it just seems like silly. And another thing that's interesting to me is this report was released very early in February. I don't have the exact date, but it was just like a week or two later that Russia, it was on February 24th. I do know that one. I don't know when in February this report was released, but it's basically just days before they walk right into Ukraine.
Yeah.
So I think it's like you said, they have these like rose-colored glasses on. They keep saying everything's fine as they're walking right off the cliff. They're morons, Yeah. The opposite just keeps happening. Especially with Putin. You know, he's just going to make a mockery of, just like he did with Obama.
Yep.
He used to always make Obama look like an idiot. So anyway.
Well, with him and Hillary Clinton, they made themselves look like idiots with that going over there trying to do their whole reset.
Oh, yeah. I know that'll always be a joke.
Gosh.
I wish I could remember what he pointed out to them. But he even tells Hillary, he's like, in our language, this does not say reset.
Yeah, I saw that clip the other day.
Blah, blah,
I wish
blah.
I knew what it
I
says
can't
too.
remember.
Yeah. I'm not gonna come up with it.
Yeah, there's no way. We'd have to Google it or something, and you could too.
Yeah.
But the only other thing I really have that we could maybe update the people on is, and did you have anything else?
I just have one little story.
Oh, sure. Go ahead. Did you want to go first?
Sure. I'll go right ahead. While I was looking for topics for the show before we started, I did find one article. I believe it was from the Federalist, written by, I believe, Rachel Bobart. Probably no relation to the Congresswoman, but I have no idea actually. Mm-hmm. And it was she was writing about a thing that some Republican senators have been doing regarding nominees for different positions.
Yeah.
And they've been using something called Rule 26. It's where a bill or a nominee can't be passed out of committee without a majority of the committee members present. So what some of the Republicans have been doing with some of these various nominees, one example is recently Pat Toomey from Pennsylvania led some other Republicans on holding up the nominee for a Treasury position.
Yeah.
And then Rand Paul did it with some other person. I forget who it was. But they're able to do it since it's a split Senate. And that means the committees are also split 50-50. So it only takes all the Republicans not to show up to hold up the nomination.
That's a pretty poor tactic, though, that it has to come to that. But
right.
I guess, are these bad nominees? Are they doing it for good reasons? We should put someone on that.
Well, in this article, they were talking about the Treasury nominee. It was talking about, this woman used to be on, some kind of fintech company board, financial tech company. And, I think it said, I'll have the link to the actual article, so I may be getting some of this wrong, because I was mostly focused on the Senate rule.
Right.
But, I believe this particular person was on the board of some kind of fintech company, and then was on some other government role, and prior to her being in that government role, some of these other fintech companies were denied approval for something, and then later when she got to review them, they were approved. I think that's sort of the gist of it, and some other
questionable ethics.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Some other stuff like that.
Gotcha.
So, and one of the main points of the person writing the article was talking about is how they might use this rule to hold up the Supreme Court nominee.
Ooh.
Right? Which I thought was pretty interesting, but I also thought it would mostly be theater, because...
Yeah, of course it would.
As I'm pretty sure we've talked about, and many others have, it's not necessarily going to be a bad nomination. It might be a bad nominee, but we're only replacing one liberal justice with another.
Right.
So it's not like we're really losing.
I know it'd be
too
a poor
much.
molehill to die on.
Right.
You know?
But I just thought that was.
Plus, do you really think Lindsey Graham would do it? Because
I
he's
don't
on the
know.
judiciary, and
Yeah.
I don't see him not showing up. You know what I mean? Like doing a walkout, a strike on a judicial nominee.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, for the Supreme Court, anyway.
Right.
Especially.
I don't know. It's tough to say, especially this far out, because they still got a while.
Well, I feel like they always end up being squishes in the.
Yeah. Especially those long-time Republicans.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, they'd probably just be like, "Sure, Biden, I'll put your guy on the Supreme Court. Boom, done.
Yep.
Rubber stamp, no problem."
So I don't know. Like I said, I think it's sort of a waste of a tactic for the Supreme Court nominee, but I thought it was interesting that it's something they're able to do for when there really is a bad nominee up for review, and that's not something I didn't know about. So you learn something new.
Yep, that's cool. Well, my something new is something that I'm thankful for, and it's that we're now, our basis of operation is here in Columbus, and the city's just lifted the mask mandates. So I'm super excited. I'm hoping I don't have to wear them to work anymore and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
So, and I'm also hoping maybe the listeners are experiencing the same in their hometowns or cities, and maybe we'll be back to being a mask-free world again someday. Go back to the old normal, not the new normal.
Right. That would be very nice.
Yeah, I tried to look up. We'll include in the show notes. There's some cool link through AARP where you can look up your state and see if the regulations have been lifted or not. But I couldn't get a good list of major cities that have lifted it now. I'm sure there are a few, but
right.
But anyway.
Yeah, I definitely know. Recently, we went to the PepsiCo, and we got told to put our masks on after we'd already come in without them.
Yeah, that was kind of weird to me.
Yeah.
Because they came and tracked us down and
Right.
told us to put our masks on instead of just telling us at the beginning when we came in.
I mean, yeah, because there was 2 employees right by the door when we came in. I'm almost certain, if I recall correctly, this was a couple weeks ago now.
Yeah. When it still is going to be business by business and everything.
Right, of
I
course.
just hope that they'll want to make money and they'll want to have customers, and that will make them not be, Karens about wearing the mask and everything.
Right. Well, that kind of makes me think about how the Arby's that's not far from us. I don't know if it's changed recently, but for the longest time, you've only been able to do drive-through. They didn't even have their inside open.
Yeah.
So I couldn't go get Arby's on my own if I wanted to.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully people will be wiser coming out of this, because there have been so many deterrents to business.
Right.
And I feel like, I don't know, if there still is a profit motive out there, hopefully, the fact that they haven't had that drive in a while, and maybe all this extra cash from the extra business will remind people why we lived the way we did before.
Right. Why free markets are good.
Yes.
When you got idiots like Bernie Sanders and Sandy Cortez running around telling us how evil capitalism is, those greedy money grubbers.
I majored in economics in college.
She should get a refund, because she didn't learn anything. But that's good. Yeah, hopefully we'll all be mask-free soon, like you're saying.
I hope so. I heard Disney lifted theirs and, some big places like that.
Well, we'll probably talk more about our recent trip on our other show, the Wacky Radio Show, sometime soon. But while we were out in Las Vegas, we didn't have to put one on, I don't think, once. The only time we really had to have one on was when we were leaving Columbus in the airport going to Las Vegas.
Yeah.
And pretty much since we got there, we didn't have to have one on.
Nope.
We even got away with not having to wear one on the plane coming back.
Yep. You just order drinks, folks. That's the...
Yeah, that's...
just have to have a really beverage in your hand.
Nice stewardess. Because some stewardesses are still picky.
Yeah.
But if you got a nice one, as long as you got a drink, they don't care.
Yep.
So things are looking up, it seems.
I hope that trend continues.
Right. Well, is that all you got?
That's all I got.
That's all I got. And listeners, we hope you enjoyed this, what seems like a relatively short episode. I don't know how long we've been going, but it was a good one, I think.
Yep. It was nice talking to you folks again.
Yep. It's glad to be back from our little bit of a time off. And as always, please like, comment, subscribe, share, rate, and review wherever you are listening to the show.
Yep.
Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, you name it. We're probably there. We got links. So check us out.
Yep, and if you're looking for more content, you can always go to our website, contemporaryconservative.net, and you can find our alternative channel that's been mentioned, the Wacky Radio Show.
Yep. And as always,
thanks for listening.